Hello again, and welcome to the 15th episode of the podcast, Simple Enlightenment. I'm your host, Dean Graves. We come to you in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Included in the transcript of this episode is a chart which will be helpful to your understanding of this presentation. Creation is a mechanism the one infinite Creator employs to explore itself by experiencing itself. It is a series of environments that begins with intelligent infinity and becomes focused with the creation of free will, the first distortion. Each new sequential environment is a conceptual refinement of one above, so that they appear as if a series of nesting dolls, one contained within the other, that concludes with the environmental setting that you, the listener, are currently experiencing with your eyes, ears, and other senses. However, an environment, no matter how close or distant from the original environment, is purely conceptual and has little or nothing to do with anything physical other than in our distorted perception of its physical independence. Time, a conceptual component of creation, is designed to be a theatrical script, primarily for third density, providing a series of scenarios or experiments that permit the exploration of the Creator by potentiating consciousness's ability to learn of itself, the inherent characteristics, by experiencing itself. All scenarios or experiences are replicated in a variety of condition-appropriate environments to allow diversity in the experience and to explore the depth and breadth of the lessons to be learned. Regardless of the environment or the experience, the constant objective is to relearn of the inherent characteristics by the Creator as the subject. The environments and experiences establish the theatrical production portion of the staging of creation. The most significant aspect of creation is the Creator as the subject, otherwise known as consciousness, the actor that is actually thrust onto the stage and costumed as the character to be portrayed. The character as the subject, a mind-body-spirit, is carefully prepared to make it possible to deliver a stellar performance, just as the environment and the script are meticulously prepared. It may seem that the Creator as the subject has randomly developed, and it is certainly true that there is a significant element of free will and randomness in the exploration, but all is one, and the exploration of the self is infinitely experienced by the diversity of individual units of consciousness conducting their private exploration. One unit of consciousness will undoubtedly employ free will to explore the self from its infinite unique perspective, but when all of the units of the consciousness are finished, exploring an environment through a multitude of experiences from its unique perspective as an identity, the experience will have been infinitely explored. Our task as a finite unit of consciousness is to explore the self, and in that unit exploration is our contribution to Creator's infinite exploration of itself. Because the physical body costume is only the portion of the character portrayal that we can empirically identify, we tend to believe it is the only preparation necessary for our mind-body-spirit's entry into the stage. The body costume that we don with our birth is a significant contributor to the nature of our incarnate experience, but it is transient and only a factor for a single lifetime. The single most significant element in shaping the mind-body-spirit's experience is the archetypical mind. The archetypical mind is a process design or blueprint for processing thought that mixes and matches the archetypes comprising a universe. In our particular experience, 9 archetypes are used to construct the archetypical mind, because the design of the universe includes these same 9 aspects of the Creator. These 9 archetypes, are uniquely mixed and matched to form a series of modules that shape how a mind-body-spirit will process thought. If you imagine a mind-body-spirit without an archetypical mind being like electricity without a wire, you may begin to get an understanding for why an archetypical mind is necessary. Electricity without a wire cannot be easily channeled to perform work. Similarly, a mind-body-spirit that has been distorted to function with a significantly reduced consciousness level and without an archetypical mind would be unfocused and unable to effectively do work. The nature of all work within creation is always to explore an assigned territory of the Creator through the concept of self. As we evolve through the densities, the primary change to the mind-body-spirit is the perception of self. As an individualized portion of the Creator as the subject, each person, each mind-body-spirit is a self. The self is the assigned portion of the Creator that we are to explore and investigate. Regardless of the density of consciousness, the self is the only element of our experience that we may know, and the only element that we may change. As consciousness evolves through creation, the concept of self transforms from the chaotic misperception of individuality in third density to the ultimate perception of unity that characterizes the knowledge that all is one. We learn of the self through experiences, and therefore the self is the Creator learning of itself by experiencing itself. As we learn of the self through experiences, we are incrementally relearning of the inherent characteristics of the Creator. Just as every environment is a refinement of the one above, the fruit of every thought is added to our beingness, and we become a refinement of our previous self. Because we are imbued with free will, we have the opportunity to choose whether we will use the thought to bring us closer to unity or gravitate further away. Catalyst is our lesson for the moment, and while we remain lost in the throes of lower consciousness, we perceive it to be brought to us randomly as part of a physical, real world that exists independently of us. We bring each other messages that provide us with the opportunity to explore the self, and therefore explore the inherent characteristics of the Creator. The more aware we are of this process and of the messages, the thoughts themselves, the more productive we may be in our participation in evolution. You may ask, so what if thoughts or experiences are random and or unchanneled? The exploration of the Creator would happen through randomness whether the mind-body-spirit is channeled or not. This may be true, but the Creator, and subsequently the Creator as the subject, is intelligent, in addition to being infinite. Rather than relying upon 1,000 monkeys with 1,000 typewriters to eventually write a complete Shakespearean play, the Creator's intelligence prescribes meticulous planning, preparation, and design to direct consciousness to be efficacious explorers. The environment is carefully designed and planned. The script, also known as time or timelines, is carefully and intricately written to specifically provide a variety of experiences and still allow for free will, improvisation, or interpretation. Consciousness, the electricity within the wire, is contained within a conduit to allow it to improvise, but also to be directed to exactly where it needs to go to explore and control the exploration, by staying within the margins of its assigned territory. The self is its assigned territory. The archetypical mind functions very similar to a spacesuit, because when an astronaut puts it on, they are unable to experience anything that doesn't pass through the spacesuit. The spacesuit determines how he or she will experience an environment. Likewise, when we put on the archetypical mind determines how we will experience an environment and process thought, but neither the spacesuit nor the archetypical mind actually experience anything. Consciousness is the only agent of change in all of creation, and the archetypical mind serves as a channel to guide consciousness as it journeys through creation. There are a multitude of archetypical mind designs within a universe, with each design incorporating only the archetype selected to comprise the universe experience. All of the archetypes will be used, but none can be added that are not part of the universe design. In our particular experience, all 9 archetypes are used to design the archetypical mind, which means that we have incorporated all 5 inherent characteristics, free will, and 3 archetypical distortions. If a universe is designed to incorporate all 32 archetypes, then the archetypical minds designed within that universe will be comprised of the 32 archetypes. If a universe design incorporates only the 5 inherent characteristics, then all archetypical minds will be designed with only the 5 archetypes. The mixing and matching of the archetypes is intended to provide a standard which can be used to explore the Creator as completely as possible with the characteristics arising from the particular archetypical configuration. There are significant other factors that greatly vary experiences, even with the same archetypical selections, because of the variability of free will choices by the participating consciousness, which allow the explorations to become an infinite exploration. We often retain the same archetypical mind throughout our tenure within the foundational and experiential densities. The same design serves first density through fifth density, but because of the characteristics of consciousness as dictated by the density, how it serves a mind, body, spirit in each density is different. Third density and the early experiences of fourth density are the only densities where the mind, body, spirits are totally within time, but the archetypical mind remains a spacesuit when consciousness is only in time-space. Consciousness doesn't function without an archetypical mind while it remains within the foundational and experiential densities. The archetypical mind guides how thoughts are processed, and since consciousness continues to wear the archetypical mind when it isn't incarnate, it will continue to process thoughts in time-space and through the remaining experiential densities, including fourth and fifth density, but it will have less sway as awareness rises. Consciousness continues to have experiences after it shucks the mortal coil that it occupies in space-time, albeit with less intensity, because it will continue to process thoughts. The primary difference between the thoughts experienced while alive and when dead is a change in perspective, which is significantly altered by the change in the environment, conditions, and the nature of its catalyst. In time-space, consciousness doesn't have the veil or forgetting. It isn't processing thought through the space-time analog self, but directly through the enduring time-space self. Experience is still experiencing and learning, but the experiences are much less intense than processing similar thoughts in space-time, and consequently much less productive in provoking an exploration of the self. The ego, or rational logical mind, is a product of the archetypical mind, while consciousness's awareness is low. It is indicative of third density, the lower dimensions of fourth density, and of those mind-body spirits who have graduated to higher densities, choosing to polarize service to self. The ego mind creates and sustains the perspective of an attachment to the physical and consequently sustains both low consciousness and the propensity to repeat the cycle of pain and suffering. Consciousness swims within an ocean of truth, but its inability to be aware of it is primarily because of unconsciousness. Even towards the higher dimensions of third density, as it evolves and liberates itself from the constraints of the ego mind and the distortions that create it, it is able to more completely experience truth. It exposes the deep mind, which is always underlying the ego mind, and provides the ability to process thought through the lens of awareness so that it may experience direct knowing through intuitive experiences. The design of the archetypical mind creates the ego mind, anticipates and facilitates its function, and guides a mind-body-spirit's transformation to reliance upon the deep mind as it grows through the experiential densities. When graduating to fourth density as a service to others' mind-body-spirit, consciousness will have mostly, if not totally, transformed the ego mind into the deep mind. If graduating to fourth density with only the minimum dimensional calibration necessary for graduation, consciousness will still have more work to do in fourth density to complete the transformation of the ego mind. When a mind-body-spirit is eventually successful in surrendering the ego mind, the additional dimensional accesses that permit it to move from a space-time perspective to a time-space perspective become available. Upon graduation to fifth density, consciousness gains the added dimensional ability to transform the appearance of the incarnate body to whatever form it may choose at the time. It will retain the time-space body, but the space-time body will be discretionary and changeable as may be deemed appropriate for the prevailing experience. Consciousness will continue to process thoughts with the deep mind as guided but significantly less constrained by the archetypical mind, availing consciousness of a significantly greater awareness of truth. Those polarizing service to self have a much more confused experience. Service to self does not transform the ego mind. However, they do gain significant access to dimensional abilities because of an increased flow intelligent energy, resulting from a more focused ability to steal it from weaker mind-body spirits. Service to self's access to increased dimensional abilities is never complete or balanced because its access has been gained through a reliance upon distortions and a resulting force, without the balance afforded by following the course of curriculum of evolution. Geographically, an archetypical mind serves the solar system. Every planetary experience within a solar system will be based upon the same mind design, which anticipates all of the foundational and experiential densities. If a mind-body spirit shares or graduated from an archetypical mind of the solar system, it is considered an inner planes being. If a mind-body spirit does not share an archetypical mind, it is considered an outer planes being. Sharing an archetypical mind does hold a certain heritage quality, but the nomenclature of inner or outer planes applies only to mind-body spirits still within the experiential densities. Once consciousness has attained sixth density awareness, it may be an alumnus of a particular archetypical mind, but it is no longer subject to any of its constraints. It is common to be an exchange student to another solar system during a soul's journey through a density, and experience one or more lives as a graduation candidate within the system. The visiting exchange student must surrender their home archetypical mind and don the one currently in use by the solar system being visited. Visiting another third density experience as an exchange student and wearing the archetypical mind of the visited planet can potentially be a difficult adaptation, but the experience can significantly accelerate liberation of the mind-body-spirit's awareness. It is possible and common for a mind-body spirit to permanently transfer from an experience in one solar system to another in a completely different solar system. More often than not, the two solar systems in the exchange will be sponsored by the same higher self or, at least, by the same archetype. However, there are exceptions as demonstrated by the many Xenoa Earth survivors of the Maldak destruction that began evolution with a law higher self and exchanged their affiliation for a raw higher self. Also, lots of other consciousness left the solar system entirely and transferred to other planets and other solar systems. The population of Earth is a good example of mind-body-spirit swapping archetypical minds. Because Earth is a second-chance planet, an amalgamation of 16 different third-density groups were assembled here under the prevailing archetypical mind, with only a fraction having originated third density within the same mind. Even though this behavior is possible, there are potentially additional complications for a mind-body-spirit in changing archetypical minds after a significant resume of experience has been accumulated under one. These complications are believed to have contributed to some of the difficulties that Earth's population has experienced over the 75,000 plus year tenure of the recent third density experience. Earth's archetypical mind consists of 9 archetypes configured into 21 modules. Free will is one of the 9 archetypes and participates as the foundation for all of the modules, but isn't specifically included in any of the mind's module designs. Free will is the first distortion of intelligent infinity that makes creation possible, but the free will of the archetypical mind is a 6th density fractal version of the 8th density creating archetype. Earth's archetypical mind's 21 modules are divided into 3 groups of 7, with 7 serving the mind, 7 serving the body, and 7 serving the spirit. These 3 aspects of the self, the mind, body, spirit, are segregated into 3 columns with each of the 7 modules pairing 2 archetypes and stacked sequentially within each column. The modules also serve as a flowchart of how a thought enters the mind and how it is processed. A thought process begins at the bottom of each column, with the 3 modules comprising the matrix category, including the matrix of the mind, the matrix of the body, and the matrix of the spirit. The second sequential category is the potentiator category, which includes the potentiator of the mind, the potentiator of the body, and the potentiator of the spirit. The matrix and potentiator categories are paired as a subsystem within the archetypical mind. Their functioning is to receive the fruit from the previous thought that has been brought into space-time from time-space, modify the mind-body-spirit accordingly in preparation for the processing of the next thought. The modification of a mind-body-spirit in preparation for a thought process reoccurs after the completion of every thought, creating a point-in-time experience. Once a thought produces fruit, the fruit of that completed thought is delivered to the matrix and potentiator to modify the mind-body-spirit before the next thought is attracted. The modification of the mind-body-spirit is how the fruit of the previous thought is brought into space-time, and the next thought is then attracted for processing in time-space. All thought is processed in time-space, and only the fruit of the thought is brought into space-time. The third module of each column is the catalyst category and includes the catalyst of the mind, the catalyst of the body, and the catalyst of the spirit. The fourth module of each column is the experience category, which includes the experience of the mind, the experience of the body, and the experience of the spirit. The fifth module in each column is the significator category and, as you may guess, includes the significator of the mind, significator of the body, and the significator of the spirit. These 3 categories, the catalyst, experience, and the significator, also are grouped together as a subsystem within the archetypical mind to guide the mind-body-spirit in the processing of a thought. Processing a single thought through these 3 categories constitutes a single experience, the fruit of which will be forwarded to the matrix and potentiator categories to modify the mind-body-spirit while it remains within the foundational densities and lower dimensions of the third density. The archetypical mind does not have an experience, but only serves as a process template for the mind-body-spirit that actually is doing the experiencing. The 6th category is the transformation category and consists of the transformation of the mind, transformation of the body, and transformation of the spirit. The transformation category potentially participates in the processing of every thought, beginning with consciousness's introduction into evolution, but its contributions will not be recognized by the participating consciousness, usually until fourth density. It doesn't significantly contribute to the fruit of a thought process until the consciousness is able to recognize it. The seventh category is the Great Way category and consists of the Great Way of the mind, the Great Way of the body, and the Great Way of the spirit. The Great Way category doesn't participate in the processing of an individual thought, but establishes the environment for the entire mind. The Great Way of the spirit is the Omega, and the matrix of the spirit is the Alpha of the entire process, with all of the other modules falling in between these two parameters of experience. 21 modules comprise the archetypical mind. Each module makes a unique contribution to the process of a thought and is integral to the mind's functioning. Productively contemplating the workings of the archetypical mind requires consideration of the contributions of each module individually, as part of the category in which it participates, matrix, potentiator, etc., and as a contributor to the archetypical mind as a whole. The mind-body-spirit exists independently of an archetypical mind, but when consciousness begins the evolutionary journey and puts on the spacesuit, it becomes modified by adapting it to explore the self according to the specific and unique design of the mind. Modification includes making the mind-body-spirit a clean slate that will follow the parameters of a specific program and process thought according to the design. By design, we mean the mind-body-spirit is formatted according to the perspectives created by the conditions, or distortions, and algorithms of the archetypical mind. An example of a distortion is the belief that there is a physical world within a volume of space, and we are inserted into it at birth, which gives rise to a predisposition to be attached to the physical. A unique interpretation of the experiences presented to the mind-body-spirit is the brush that paints upon the blank canvas, creating a unique personality in all of creation. Painting upon the canvas is not so much what touches us as it is how we touch the experiences we encounter. All experience is emotionally neutral, and consequently, the value of experience is a result of the application of emotions by the unique personality of the experiencing mind-body-spirit. Through the design of the archetypical mind, the listener may also see the incremental nature of experience. Consciousness begins exactly the same as a total blank canvas. As it is incrementally presented with catalysts within the variable, but carefully designed environment, it slowly deviates from the sameness where it began evolution and interprets experiences from a unique vantage point. Over a multitude of lifetimes, the uniqueness of a developed personality becomes increasingly diverse, so even if a mind-body-spirit were to duplicate a catalyst within an environment at a latter point in evolution, it would afford a significantly different experience. The design of time and the environments of our experiences are intended to complement the incremental nature of the archetypical mind's functioning. The beginning of a third-density experience appears to be full of incomprehensible, gross experiences, which have a significantly overwhelming effect, relatively speaking, upon the mind-body-spirit. As the personality develops and the awareness of the mind-body-spirit grows, gross content transforms into more subtle and incremental content because of increased awareness. This is true of the overall journey through evolution, as well as a single lifetime. The gross experiences of youth, full of motion and chaos, potentially give way to the more subtle experiences of adulthood, assuming awareness grows within the individual. Of course, the individual is the magnet that attracts the experiences, So the more unaware it becomes in adulthood, the more intense the chaotic and gross the experiences become as it ages. A mind-body spirit is able to control the nature of its experiences by how it is able to increase awareness and balance the self. The design always anticipates flexibility. If consciousness chooses to remain unaware and chronically repeat the foibles as characteristic of remaining in ignorance, it is provided with that opportunity for as long as it needs to begin to awaken. If it chooses to shift gears and proceed more quickly along the path than is anticipated, that too is possible. The whole plan, regardless of how slowly or how quickly consciousness progresses through the plan, is to explore the depth and breadth of the self through awareness. This concludes episode 15 of the podcast, Simple Enlightenment, and we thank you for listening. Please visit our website at podcastenlightenment.org for a transcript of this episode and to listen to other episodes and/or download the other transcripts. If you are finding these recordings helpful, please share them with family and friends that you believe may find them beneficial. While visiting the website, please take a moment to make a donation because Simple Enlightenment is entirely listener-funded, and we rely upon the generosity of listeners like you to continue to offer this information. Our objective is to change the world by offering truth, and you can be a part of that effort by applying what you learn to yourself and beginning an earnest endeavor to explore and heal the self. Also, while at podcastenlightenment.org, please like and share us on your favorite social media platform. For now, we leave you in the love and the light of the One Infinite Creator. Theme music by Dr. Ken Rent.